Hey everyone, welcome back to the Law of Attraction Tribe podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Keith. And today I have another Stephanie, Stephanie Banks, who is an intuitive channel and author of the bestseller, Joining Joni, Staying Connected to Your Loved Ones Through Dementia and Beyond. Stephanie is currently completing her second book about her spiritual journey. In her TEDx talk, I Am an Intuitive Channel, she shares her unexpected experience with channeling and invites others to discover their own intuitive gifts. Stephanie, welcome to the podcast.
Stephanie, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Two Stephanies. Okay. To start, can you explain what channeling is and how you discovered you could do it?
Yes, for sure. So, this is just my definition. We all have a little bit of a different understanding of what channeling is, but for me, channeling is simply connecting to divine energy and wisdom. And that is something within all of us. So we are actually all capable of channeling. I've tested this out. There is yet to be a person that I have worked with that cannot channel. And there's many forms of channeling. So you think of art, music, dance, excuse me, writing, um, cooking. These are all creative ways that we express ourselves as humans, and they are often divinely inspired. So those are forms of channeling. And yeah, it's not unique to me. What's unique to me is the flavor, the way that I do it, the stream of language that comes through me, the images that I'm able to see. And the way I came across it was out of necessity. My mom had dementia from the time she was in her late 40s, early 50s,
Oh.
which is unusual. You know, usually you think of Alzheimer's or dementia with a much older population, but she began hers much younger. And it took a long time before the doctors properly diagnosed it. So in the meantime, our relationship was suffering. We weren't understanding each other. There was a lot of frustration. It was hard. And I had a background as a clinician in speech pathology. So I thought for sure I got this. You know, I treat people all the time who have cognitive decline, but it's different when it's your mom. She wasn't the best patient for me.
I feel like that's always the case with relatives.
Yes, exactly. One should never treat their mother if you're a clinician. So I had a best friend, a new best friend at the time. I had recently relocated to be near my parents so I could support them in this process of my mom's illness, of this cognitive decline. And I met a friend who I became very close with who actually channeled beautifully, fluidly, fluently. She could channel any soul that was on the planet. And so I asked her to channel my mom for me while my mom was alive. And I could ask her, what do you need? You know, how can I support you? How can I be a better daughter? Why are we having so many frustrating interactions? What's my role here? And why dementia, right? This was like, why, not that it's an intentionally brought in ailment, but on some level, if you are a spiritual believer, there's connection there, there's meaning there. And I got all my answers, and it changed the entire relationship with my mom because having an understanding of her as a soul let me choose a different way to interact with her. And when we find a different path for interaction, things can heal. And instead of having frustrating interactions, we were dancing together, playing together, singing nonsense songs together, marching around the kitchen, playing with my young children. It was a total change. It was phenomenal.
Wow, what a beautiful and a unique way of channeling. This is this only the second time I've heard of channeling in this way. I heard it one other time um, through, I think it was through a podcast where a husband had figured out this way to communicate with his wife, who was nonverbal, and that had helped her or helped him take care of her. So, when you're channeling your mom, is it her higher self, or how
Mhm.
does that work?
Yeah. So I was asking my friend to tune into my mom's soul, her higher self, the aspect of her that is forever
Mhm.
and that comes, I believe, to this earthly existence and sometimes other other places too, many, many times to grow and to
Mhm.
get closer to pure love, to divine love. And she was able to attune to, and this is what I've learned to do as well, to her essence, and her soul, her higher self was able to come through and give streams of information, answer my questions, give me guidance, provide me with insights, tell me where I was wrong, what I was
Mhm.
doing that was actually interfering with her soul's journey, and what I could do differently that would actually support her soul's journey. So that's the essence. And you can, again, we can all do this. The work is actually a lot in the realm of self-trust, and then in the practice, like we have to learn how to slow down, how to get quiet. You don't have to be a great meditator, but I do believe it's an important piece of this, because we are trying to arrange our energetic field to be of the highest loving frequency to match what we're trying to bring through.
It's so interesting because over the last, I would say, going on 3 years now, I've kind of been on this journey. Well, we're all on a journey of spiritual development, but it's just more and more and more. I keep getting that message, and I've seen in my own life, slow down. And it's like when you can slow down, everything is revealed to you. Just like you were saying, all the answers you needed came through. And unfortunately, we live in a society that's really fast paced, so it can feel impossible. But I think even just slowing down a few minutes a day to start with and just getting comfortable with that after a life of this conditioning of rushing and fast pace can make such a big difference. And you said, I believe you said self-trust. So
Mhm.
is this a case of like, if you don't believe you have the ability to channel, you're sort of blocked?
Yes,
Okay.
if you don't believe it, if you don't think you're worthy of receiving, and connecting to divine energy, a lot of people, that has been their conditioning, right? Who am
Hmm.
I to connect with angels? Who am I to connect with loving energy? There's this
Hmm.
whole conditioning that a lot of people have experienced. Yeah, it's important to examine what those deeper beliefs are, because they started off just as a thought, right? That, or they were just handed to us on a platter of beliefs by people who were older and more experienced than us. And then we just thought, okay, well, that must be true. So the self-examination process, I think, is really essential if you are to peel back the layers and really go into the deeper places of where spirit resides, which is everywhere. And spirit is not conditioned. It's vast, it's love, it's openness, it's healing. So it is a matter of what within me needs to be healed, needs to be witnessed, needs to come through, needs to be seen and even challenged, maybe, so that I can make more room for that which perhaps I don't understand or don't yet believe, just because I haven't been exposed to it.
What would you say are the common fears around challenging? Do you run into a lot of different things where people might be sort of pushing, there's resistance because
Mhm.
of different fears they've been exposed to throughout their life?
Yeah, every time I teach a channeling class to a new group, that's the very first thing we put out on the table. Because if you can name your fears, of course, they don't have quite as much of a hold on you. And then we can debunk some myths around it. But when people have fears around channeling, it would be, what if I can't do it? Right. And sometimes
Hmm.
that's the worth stuff that comes in. What if what comes through is heavy or dark or scary? That's
Hmm.
a very natural fear. There's an antidote to that as well. What if I lose friends or family members because this is something they can't get behind or support, or something that frightens them? That's a real thing. What other fears do they have? Yeah, I would say those are really the top three.
Okay, so these are, I hear these often, or I have throughout my life. Like, my my mom, she loves going to mediums and things like that. But there have been times where we've talked about it, and she's like, "Well, I'm just afraid. What if you open a door that you can't close?" And I
Mhm.
think some of that can come from even like religious beliefs or growing up in church, because I hear a lot of people bringing that up. Well, how do you know what's coming in is loving and not evil? Um, And I mean, I personally don't believe that at all, but what's the antidote that you mentioned earlier? How do you help people work through these deeply embedded fears that a lot of people have?
Yeah, it has to do with actually self-love practice, what we would consider to be like radical self-care. If you feel crappy about yourself and you just want to simplify this to like the universal law, right? Of you will attract in what you're a vibrational match for. This doesn't make you no blame here, no shade here. It's just a natural phenomena. Then you have the responsibility to curate very carefully your vibrational field. We have a responsibility to our own energetic hygiene. And if you are taking good care of energetic hygiene. And by the way, this is not perfect. There's no perfection here. There's nobody's try it's that's not important. But do you love yourself? Do you have practices of loving yourself? And that comes from the moment you wake up in the morning and what your self-talk is, to the food you put on your plate, to the way you interact with the natural world, to the way you interact with other humans, to the humans that you allow close access to you. These are all opportunities to love yourself. And there's always room to grow here, right? We can always be clearing things out, making some shifts and some changes that are more affirming to our value here as a divine being, a soul having a human experience. So this is from the foundation that I teach. This is kind of where everything begins and it's where everything blossoms from. Now, in terms of what if nothing comes through, that fear of someone, and I used to have this when I was first starting. What if I would get into a session with a client and get ready to channel for them and it was just crickets? That would be awful, very embarrassing, humiliating. It never happened. Here's the workaround that I teach for that. Since spirit is always here, since our soul is always fully present, and our team, our spirit guides, angels, whatever you want to call them, always here. You do not have to ring a bell or do anything specific to bring them in. They're just fully forever present. Since that is true, then we have this opportunity. If, say, I pair someone up with a partner in my workshop, and they're going to channel something really simple for their partner and they're afraid, I teach them to say, if I were to make this up, this is what I would say. And that's sort of like an easeful introduction to acknowledge, first of all, this is all coming through imagination. So that belief that if I'm making it up, it's wrong, no, not at all. We're making everything up. We're making it up all the time. Nothing has ever been invented without first imagining it.
Mhm.
So yes, this is where we want to be. We want to be tapped into the third eye. We want to be tapped into the right hemisphere of the brain. We want to be tapped into the heart, to the gut. All these are spaces from which we can receive channeled messages. So just acknowledge, I might be making this up. Yay. And here's the beauty of it. And if you have any feeling at any time that something doesn't feel right, doesn't feel safe, other than your anxious thoughts that are whispering to you, you're not good enough, you can't do this. I'm saying like something deep that feels, this doesn't feel like safe territory. Stop. Don't continue. Don't push past that. This is not about bulldozing through. There's a lot of heaviness in the field right now. There
Mhm.
is fear that is being constantly fed to the humans globally.
Mhm.
If you are at all awake, you are feeling that on some level. So, is there a possibility that you're going to feel that more so as you open up further? Sure, there is. Does your self care suck? You're going to feel more of that heavy, dense energy, right? It's all connected in this way. So, we have the right and the responsibility to open to what feels of the highest love, to close off and create boundary against anything that doesn't feel of the highest love. We are not victim. I'm not always walking around wide open as a channel. Why would I want to do that?
Right.
That's noisy, that's
Mhm.
chaotic, that's confusing, it's distracting. So there's a series of things that you can learn to do to enable yourself to trust what is coming through based on how it feels in the body, because the body never lies.
Oh, I have so many questions.
Go for it.
This is great to be able to ask you these. So, okay, so first of all, the whole fear of what if something doesn't come through? What if I'm not doing this right? So, I don't know, I'm sure you've seen them, but like if I'm scrolling on Instagram, I'll see these accounts that will have, they'll be like, guess, what color is
Mm.
behind this or whatever. And all the time I'll see those and boom, right away, something will pop in my head and it'll be right. And so then I'll stick with it and I'll be like, oh, okay, let me try. And as soon as I'm trying, like I don't get anything right. And so then I was thinking like maybe it's my trying and my like I'm trying to logically think of it instead of letting it flow in that it's like as soon as I try, I block myself. Does that
Yes.
happen with your channeling clients? And is there like a practice? Is there a meditation that you do maybe prior to starting that can kind of bypass that?
Yes, I love that you're acknowledging this. That it's a thing for sure. As soon as we run it up the flagpole of cognition or thinking or expectation, and you might not even be aware, because
Hmm.
that stuff is sneaky, it can
Yeah.
slide right in like, ooh, I got one right. Let me see if I can compete with everybody else.
Right, right. And then my
Doing this
ego is
challenge.
like involved. Yeah. That's exactly what's
Yes,
happening.
yes. We are such predictable creatures.
Hmm.
So there are practices. Like what I always, as I'm teaching classes, we have to set the stage, right? I have to show the students, how do you settle your energy body? How do you settle the mind? How do you create a more slow pace so you can be open to the beauty and love that is waiting for you to connect with it? How do you raise your frequency? And there's so many endless ways to do this, Stephanie. Like I'm wearing a mala right now. Using a mala is a very powerful tool to settle your mind, to open to love. You have a mantra. You say it 108 times as you move around the mala. 108 is a sacred number for many, many reasons. You can Google that. And by the time you repeat anything 108 times, you are more aligned with the energy of what you are cultivating. So you might say, I am a clear and loving open channel 108 times. Or for me, I like to use Sanskrit words that have different power and different meanings. So this is really powerful to use. Also, like I said, meditations, there's millions of different types of meditations you can do just to settle and prime yourself for listening. There's movement. A lot of us absorb so much in a day in our bodies, especially
Mhm.
those who identify as being highly empathic. We have to release that. So in my classes, we shake to African drum beats, we dance it out, we move, sometimes we need to rage, right? Like
Mhm.
I am always
Yeah.
surprised at how much rage exists
Oh,
that
yeah.
wants to be, it's just in me,
Hmm.
because again, the outside world seems to be day by day at its cruelest, and I'm just furious, absolutely furious about it. So, lots and lots of practices here. Also, the natural world is the best tool to use on a daily basis for draining energy that does not serve you, for drawing up beautiful, nourishing energy from Mother Earth herself. And anything we do in service to the natural world, which, by the way, we are not separate from. We are nature. Nature is us, but we have also been conditioned to view a hierarchy somehow, with somehow humans being at the top, which I do not believe at all. I think we've pretty much bungled that quite well.
Yeah, yeah. At this point, I think
But
we can see that.
yeah, well, you'd be right. Some
Yeah.
are not. But this is the point, like to come back into the beauty that is all around us, which feeds this our natural generosity, our natural appreciation for things. This is how you get into a space to channel and to receive. One other thing I will say is that all of us have a network of invisible, loving beings who are assigned to protect us. I call these my guides of protection. When I first agreed to start channeling professionally, I said to them, please be my gatekeepers. I do not want to channel for anyone that is in a frequency that is much denser than my own. Please bring it at a match to me or higher. They can
Hmm.
certainly be higher. I would love to fly with that. But at least to where I'm at, so that afterwards I'm not so drained. I don't feel so sticky. And they do. Every single time I can feel that much is being deflected, and the clients that do find their way to me are just an incredibly perfect match.
Is this the same thing you do when you're just going out in public, for example? Because you mentioned I don't want to be an open channel, as you're walking in a busy
Mhm.
place. So do you ask your spirit guides or do you have a different practice for that?
I do. I ask them, like, if I'm going to Costco, for example. What I also do though, because even though I might sometimes I forget to get protection, or to ask for that. So then I sit in my car afterwards and I cut cords, really high tech with my fingers like that. Just intentionally separating myself from any energy that might have attached to my field unknowingly from me. And bless it, send it to either where it will be in great service or to back to its host or to the earth herself because she knows how to compost. But yeah, we need to recognize when we're off. And I can feel after I've been in a crowded store or been in a crowded situation, just how different that can shift my energetic depending on where everybody is with
Mhm.
their energy fields. And we can't assume that everybody has the same commitment to their energetic hygiene as we do.
Yeah, I feel this so deeply. Even if I'm on a Zoom call with like a lot of people, I will feel just wiped out afterwards. And I have to keep I told my friend the other day, I think I need to put a reminder in my phone because I'll just forget. Like I will absolutely forget. And then I'm like, why am I so wiped out? And it's like,
Yeah.
well, I'm just kind of letting all this energy in. I'm not really protecting myself. Yesterday was a perfect example of this. You mentioned rage earlier. I had like it wasn't even anger, it was like rage. But I had no reason to feel that way. And I was like, I think it's just this collective
Mhm.
energy right now. And I felt like I was going to lose my mind. And I went outside my backyard, was watering the plants and walking around. And I'm just like, this is the best therapy in the whole world because 30 minutes of doing that and the rage dissipated. It went away and I felt balanced. And again, it's one of those things where I have to remind myself, like, I don't have to sit in this. Why don't I go outside or go for a walk or, just anything around nature? And you don't even have to think about it. It's like it just equalizes this energy, no matter what the energy is, right?
Yes, and that's beautiful. It's everything really.
Yeah. So, from what I understand, you channel Gaia, right?
Mhm.
What is that like? How does that come
Mhm.
through? Like, what does it feel like? What have you learned?
Yes. Oh, it's always loving, always beautiful, warm, expansive, patient. She's very patient with her children, wouldn't you agree? Given our
Yes.
behaviors, and that
The
she's
most
still
patient.
like the most
Yeah.
patient mother we could ever have. There are times when I do feel, rightfully so, the urgency of the moment that comes through the channeling with her. It's not that she's frantic, but she is showing us um, we must wake up. We
Yeah.
must wake up. And I have had, there are some people who believe or who are maybe even channeling like the earth is ascending, and rising, and so it's going to be okay. That's not what my understanding is through my channeling. Not that we're not all ascending on some level. I do believe where there's transformation happening on a human level, and a more than human level. However, we're not okay to continue on in status quo. This is not at all what is okay. We are destroying our mother and therefore ourselves We are losing species. We are toxifying our environment. We are poisoning our waters, our air, not to be a negative Nelly. This is what's true. We need to come to terms with it and shift that, turn it around. And while it may seem very big and vast, and people, it's easy to say, well, what can one person do? One person can go out and water their plants in their garden. That is everything.
Oh,
That is
wow.
everything.
I'm so glad that you brought that up because I feel like I'm jumping all over the place, but it's just so many different things that I feel like we're really connecting on. So earlier you had mentioned self-love, and I cannot wait to tell my friend about this episode because I was literally talking to my friend yesterday, and we both were getting all of this insight, like out of the blue about self-love. Because before I'd be like, oh, whatever, like self-love. But we were on a 6 hour car ride, and this is like all that came through the entire 6 hours. It's like you can't control everything happening outside of you, everything in the world, but you can control what's happening with you and within you. And if you're being really, negative to yourself, then how can you expect the external world to look positive? That's kind of a simple explanation for what came through. But just like what you're saying, you can't go and fix the entire earth by yourself today, but you can go in your backyard and you can water your plants. And that has a ripple effect that I think we vastly underestimate.
100%. In fact, there's research on this. You can look at research on prayer and how prayer has helped people to heal, like praying for people you never ever will meet in another part of the world. This is well researched. Also, the HeartMath Institute has an enormous body of research that shows the field of coherence. So coherence is like when the heart and the mind, well, the heart brain coherence is when the heart and the brain are in like harmony with one another. There's no energy loss. It's not a frantic brain and then a heart trying to catch up to it. It's peace. And it's done very simply and very easily. It's basically hands on your heart, focusing on your breath and conjuring a positive person or place or image. That's it. And they actually have found a way to study that when you enter into that practice of coherence, you are adding to the global field of human coherence. So when I practice, and meditation creates this coherence too. So when anyone practices meditating, it is not just for that individual. We are always, there's no neutrality. We're always adding something to the field. It's either love or it's going to be fear, right? This is simple.
Mhm.
And so we get to choose what is it we're going to be adding. And so if we're super hypercritical of ourselves, then that's what we're adding to the collective field. It is felt. You can feel it. And when we are in deep loving practice or forgiveness, forgiving ourselves for maybe making what we think is a mistake, although there are no such things, but let's just say, or for any misstep that we make, then that actually goes out into the field as well. So it's an act of love for humanity to love yourself.
I love this. I love looking at studies and the quantum physics behind everything. And I always visualize, like, as you were saying that, just this, when you hear about quantum entanglement, it's like this the way I picture it is this invisible, energetic web that's connecting everyone. So it doesn't matter how far away someone is or something is, that ripple effect goes like throughout everything.
Mm.
And I mean, what a good lesson. I feel like if there's one thing listeners can take away from this episode, like let that be the thing. Go water your grass, like do the
Yeah.
one thing for you, but know that that is having an impact that you're not going to really understand, or at least not immediately, but it's so vast, it's so big, it's so infinite. And
Mm.
if we could all do that, then things would shift like very quickly.
Oh, yeah. And that's the world that my heart knows is possible. I keep coming back to and grounding into that vision. And here's another practice. So someone might not have grass to water. However, there's something called a sit spot. And it is basically a place in nature, and it could be on your balcony, it could be in a park, it could be in your yard if you have a yard. But if you don't, and all you have is you're in a high rise and you can see a tree, then pull your chair up to the window, and get to that tree if you can't get to it physically. And every day, if you can, at least multiple times a week, sit down, bring a blanket, bring a yoga mat, bring something, sit down in that same spot and do nothing. Like, don't worry about, you can bring a journal if you feel, motivated to do so, but just observe. And what happens when you show up to a place in nature that is not contained with walls over and over and over again is you start to understand and feel that you are not the only one observing. You are also being observed. Nature is noticing you. The squirrels with regular visits, for example, will accommodate you. They maybe won't run away anymore, but they'll start to get a little braver and allow for you to be in your sit spot, and they go about their daily work. You may start to receive messages and communication from the oak tree in front of you. That's a real thing. I do it all the time. You might start to notice the teeniest of creatures, the worms, the beetles, the lizards, whatever it is, things that you would normally step right over, go be too busy in your life and not even notice. The miracles of what exists here in the many different forms of life is astonishing. It creates awe, it creates wonder, a childlike curiosity. This is a beautiful place from which to settle your energy, from which to receive messages, from which to connect.
I feel like anyone who does that, like, there you go, you're going to start channeling.
Yes.
Like, what better way to quiet your mind, to slow down, to
Yeah.
go within than just sit outside in nature, connect with nature.
Yeah.
So, another question that comes to mind is when you're channeling, or I guess when you first started channeling, how did that come through? And is that different for everyone? Because I'm assuming that a lot of us, myself included, might get the message and we think it's just a thought. Like, oh, that's just
Mhm.
our mind, but
Mhm.
really it's a channeled message. So, how do you tell the difference? And then are there other ways in which the messages come through?
Yeah, that's a great question. I first started receiving messages while I was sitting next to my best friend. We started doing circles of women with a sacred center, and she would channel for all of the participants. And I would sit next to her and I would sort of be a timekeeper. I would find us the venues to go to, but then I would ground the energy for her and kind of keep us on task and that sort of thing. And I started to hear messages coming through me while she was the one who was channeling. For a very long time, I discounted this and I said, "Oh no, she's the channeler. There's no way I could be." And if something's coming through, it's by accident. It might have just bumped into me on its way to her. Right. But after a bit, I shared it with her and she said, go take some classes. Go see my mentor. You can totally learn to do this and trust it. So I started to take classes and I started to learn. And one of my mentors was a world-renowned psychic medium. So I wanted to be trained by those in the top of their game who had the integrity. That's always what you want to be looking for. And through practices, it just kept coming. I got these gorgeous messages. Nothing ever felt dark for me. It didn't feel scary. It didn't feel heavy. And what I needed to learn was sometimes it was a message just for me to know. Oftentimes, sometimes it was a message designed to be shared. And this is a big point of discernment because what I do not want is people running around channeling for everybody else. Oh, I just got this information for you. I just got, no, no, we don't really want to do that either.
Hmm.
Because unless we are really in the deep practice of self love and self care and compassion and meditation and energetic hygiene, then what we're bringing is kind of coming through some filters that is not helpful to those we're sharing the messages with. So that's how it started. But really, Stephanie, it took me years, even after high level training, for me to say, okay, I'm ready to serve the people. And I only got there because my guides told me, stop with the classes, go and go do it, serve.
Hmm.
You're
Hmm.
taking these classes not just for your own knowledge, go and serve. And that's not the case for everybody. You don't have to become professional with this. But imagine being able to tap into higher wisdom anytime you want to and have it direct your life. Yes, yes, please. I don't always listen to my highest wisdom. Sometimes I'll be like, yeah, that sounds good. And it's probably right, but I would really rather experience this thing right now. And they're like, cool, go for it. Free will,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, that's really important. So, practicing it in your own life, obviously it helped with your mother and your
Mhm.
relationship and caring for her and communicating with her. Do you use this for other relationships, like maybe with children? I have young kids, and I'm just thinking that could be a really great way when a lot of times young children don't have the vocabulary or, they're not able to tell you exactly what's wrong or what they need. So, is that something that you do?
Yes, all the time. I work with parents all the time and channel the higher selves of their children. And really, it gives such illuminating information. Always love, lots of humor. It's a very playful energy that we're tapping into. And what's interesting about channeling children, so you don't have to go to their souls. You actually have, Stephanie, you do, and I do, and everybody who's a parent does. We have parenting guides.
Oh,
We
okay.
have energetic beings of the greatest love and wisdom who get parenting and who know us and know how we want to be and rise as parents.
How
So that,
convenient.
yeah, totally convenient. Yes. So that's usually the narrative that I hear when I'm in an interaction with one of my kids and I'm about to say something. If I pause, and this is also critical with any type of connection or channeling, we have to pause, wait,
Hmm.
wait, wait, wait. Don't be impulsive. If I pause and listen, my guides will say, this direction is the one to go in. This is what this beautiful heart needs to hear from you right now to establish the feeling, the foundation, the connection that they are needing. So that sounds very wordy, and it's not like it comes through in those specific words. Now, for me, it's just a constant stream and a feeling.
Hmm.
But now, again, I have a choice. I can go with the old way that maybe was used on me, or I can go with this new guidance, which is very ancient actually, but allows me to stay deeply connected with my child and attuned to what their need is for that moment and build rapport, build trust, build love from there. So tune into your parenting guides.
That just makes me feel very supported. It's like,
Yeah.
of course there's parenting guides. Why didn't I ever consider that sooner, We're so supported.
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
so question for you, because everyone has the ability and can learn. Do you think, or have you seen, do you think children are kind of like naturally channels and then there comes the programming and conditioning and it kind of blocks it? Or is that something they build on and learn later in life?
I absolutely think that every child is born a perfectly clear and open vessel for love. And yes, unfortunately, through societal and cultural and familial and religious conditioning, we teach fear instead. And so, as adults, this is part of the work of accessing, right? Channeling and accessing our self trust. We have to peel away those layers again to access the truth of ourselves, which came through from this perfect being that we were born as. That's okay. That's the work of being human. But yeah, listen to the kids because before society, family, religion, culture gets to them, they even hear things, see things, know things. Just listen. Listen to them. My best friend who taught me channeling, she would say that her father had passed when one of her sons was very, very young, and he would say, "There he is." He would see him in the room. I
Wow.
have the chills right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so trust that. And so she would get curious, like, oh, you see him? What's he, is he wearing something? Is he just floating? Like, what do you see? And get excited. So if you follow your children's wisdom, and boy, are they wise.
Yeah.
My gosh.
I
Talk
learn
about,
every day from my kids.
yes. Talk about it's time to bust up a hierarchy that doesn't work. We are not their teachers. We are
Uh,
not. We're
oh,
just here to
yeah.
keep them safe, move some of the boulders out of the way as long as it's necessary. But they are our teachers.
Oh, I have a funny story that happened yesterday because again, it just always like you learn from your kids. But I was in the car with my daughter, my 6 year old, and this guy was just behind me and he was like laying on his horn for no reason, just driving erratically. And so I'm getting all flustered. And then, like, we get to the store and I park, and she's like, "Oh, I'm so sad that you're upset, Mom." And I was like, "What? I'm not upset." She's like, "Well, I know you got upset with that other car." And I said, "Oh, it was just, someone that's not being very nice and they're just not being a good person." And she said, "Mom, you can't say that about someone you don't know. You don't know. They could be a really good person and they're having a bad day." And I was like, you are so smart. Like, you are right. And it's just amazing the stuff that comes through. And I'm like, yeah,
Yes.
I'm learning way more from you, kid, than you're learning from me.
Yes. And when our children pick up on our emotional states or energetic states, like what if we could be like, you got that, like, good job.
Yeah.
This, you can trust this, dear daughter. You can
Yes.
trust this, right? Because she's going to go through her life and she's going to read people.
Mm-hmm.
We want her to,
Mm-hmm.
because we can, it's hard to teach that, right? But
Yeah.
it's easy to squash it, but it's innate. And so she read you and she was absolutely right. And you can encourage her, like, keep reading and keep trusting what you're reading. And whether or not I agree with it or admit to it or someone else does, that doesn't make you wrong. You
Yeah.
read exactly the thing that needed to be understood for that moment. I love it, because then we talk about situations where she might be able to avoid because she's like, oh, that person, that energy I'm picking up on them feels not great. I'm going to move away from it. Or I'm going to
Mhm.
send compassion to that driver who is clearly, having a hard day, like she said.
Yeah. No, I think that's so important, learning to trust yourself. And if you can trust yourself, trust your intuition, I think that will lead to more self-love too.
Yes.
It's like all connected. And I personally think that the way our schooling system is set up, we're taught the opposite. Don't trust yourself, trust the authority in the room, and you're not allowed to question it. And that's like, to me, that's so dangerous
Yeah.
because then you're teaching them, like, nope, don't trust that feeling that you're getting. And that could protect you in life. And if you ignore it, that's not good. So I agree. I think that's like, as parents, that's our job. We have to let them feel comfortable trusting what comes through.
Yes. Beautiful. And you're right. When we cluster children in crowded environments, traditional school model style, it's
Hmm.
very hard for them to have access to their truth because they're taught to, like, wait, see if there's going to be consensus, see if it's safe to speak up, etc.
Yeah, I agree. And, kind of like your answer to my question earlier, it's like maybe if we teach them this now, that channel won't be blocked. They won't turn it off or be afraid of it or think, oh, this is just, my imagination. Like you said,
Yeah.
everything's imagination. Like maybe they'll just continue on through their life picking up on that. And we don't have to go through this whole cycle of like relearning as
Yeah,
adults.
exactly.
Amazing. Well, I feel like we could talk all day about this. You've given so much insight and wisdom. I really appreciate it. But maybe you can let everyone know where they can find you.
Sure, they can go to my website. It is soulinsight.com. And I'm on social media a bit, not a lot for obvious reasons, but it's at Stephanie Intuitive Channel.
Amazing. Well, I will link all of that in the show notes so everyone can follow you and connect with you. And thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much, Stephanie.
And thanks everyone for tuning in, and I'll see you back here in the next episode.